Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health is excited to kick off this new segment of Q&A with CNA in Western Stark County with WHS-TV, highlighting a multitude of services Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health offers to Western Stark County and Massillon City School District residents. My name is Dan Mucci. I'm the Mission Advancement Director here at CNA. Today, our first guest is going to be Joe French, the Chief Executive Officer. Today, Joe will be providing us with an overview of the services and programs the agency offers. Throughout the coming months, you'll meet some of our excellent clinical staff and learn about some of the amazing programs we offer. First off, though, welcome to the show, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, Joe, start us off. Tell us a little bit about your history, where you grew up, where you went to college, a little bit of your professional background,
Sure.
and how you ended up at the agency.
So I grew up in Canton City, and at one point, 7th grade I think it was, we moved to Louisville. I'm a Louisville Leopard grad and went from Louisville to Kent State University, got my bachelor's in elementary ed, went on and got my master's in early childhood education at Ashland University, taken a couple courses towards my doctorate in educational leadership, but I was serving on the board at CNA. And somebody, our CEO, announced that he was retiring after 34 years. And a couple board members said, I think you'd be great. Why don't you apply? And the rest is history. I've been at CNA over 9 years and have seen it go through lots of transformation and growth. But it's been a very rewarding opportunity.
And your childhood background is just perfect for the agency and providing a great educational and understanding of
Sure.
what kids are going through.
Thanks.
So you're also involved in a number of community organizations. You sit on some nonprofit boards. So why don't you let our viewers know a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So growing up, my parents, my grandparents all said that you have to give back to your community in some way, shape, or form. And so I do that through some community involvement. I serve on the library board. I also am involved with JRC. Family Council. I'm also involved with Leadership Stark County. Just finished Leadership Ohio. So lots of great opportunities to give back to the community around really important topics and making sure that, number one, kids are always at the forefront of our decision making.
And so, stepping outside the nonprofit realm, you're also a political council person. So why don't you let our viewers know a little bit about that?
So I am a Myers Lake Village Council member. So I'm in my second term. So I have 2 more years remaining on this term, and we'll see where it goes from there.
That's great. So let's get into a little bit about the organization. So why don't you give our viewers an overview of what CNA actually does?
So I think a lot of people have a misconception about what CNA actually can offer. A lot of times people think it's just an outpatient kind of service, and we offer so much more than that. Outpatient is definitely one of the services that we provide. But we also do school-based consultation. We do prevention programming. We do prevention not only for preventing kids from needing ongoing mental health services, but prevention around SUD or substance use disorder. We know about 50% of the kids in middle school and high school typically are using to mask their mental health disorder. And so we will do everything we can to prevent that from happening and becoming a long-term problem. So that's something that we're very proud of as well. But we also have a day treatment program for kids who have had severe trauma in their life. And so we will serve them. And then also we have some unique programming called MST, multisystemic therapy. And then also we have a cyber program around sexually inappropriate behaviors that kids may demonstrate, and we work very hard to make sure that they understand that that is inappropriate. But I think we have early childhood treatment, we have early childhood prevention, we have peer programming. So we have a wide menu of services that people can choose from.
Also, do you want to mention a little bit about the psychiatric services department?
Absolutely. So we have a medical department, and it is for any kiddo that might need a psychotropic drug prescription. So kids that are ADHD, or if they are in need of anxiety, depression meds, they have to see our psychiatrist, and we have 4 prescribers on staff, and they can see one of the prescribers. They have to come every 30 days for a med check, but our medical department is second to none because they specialize in serving children.
Great. Earlier you mentioned school-based consultation, and of course we have school-based providers in Massillon Middle and Elementary School, as well as out at Tesla local schools. So explain to our audience what their role is and why they are important to have in the schools.
School-based consultation is extremely important because we're providing a service right when the need happens. And so what can happen is a school or a teacher, or anybody in the district, a parent can say, hey, can you check in on my child? And we can go in, have a one-off and see how they're doing. We can also then determine, do we need to see them ongoing? So we can open them to ongoing services. But the consultation is really kind of meant to be a check-in. And we can do that up to 3 hours before we have to open them to ongoing services. So a teacher could say, boy, I've seen a change in Johnny's behavior. What can we do about that? You can refer to our school-based provider. They will check it out and work very closely with the family, determine what are the next steps for that child. So it's immediate services when the student needs the service. There's no waiting.
And so even if a kid was having a little bit of an anxiety before a test, somebody could come in, give them a brief.
I always say give them the tools for their toolbox, right? So put the tools in your toolbox to say, when you're feeling this, here's some things that you can do to be very effective. And also then, I don't need to see you ongoing because I've given you the tools. But then there's other things that are much long-term and we need to be more involved in the child's life ongoing. But the most important thing about school-based services is they're immediate and they're right there in the schools when the child says, hey, I need to talk to somebody.
Much different than when you and I were in school.
Exactly.
We also have some qualified mental health specialists with the agency. More people would know that as a case manager, perhaps. So what services do they provide to individuals? And again, why is it so important that they also work in tandem with the schools?
A lot of times a kid doesn't need a therapist, but there is some issues going on in the home. So I always say case managers, or QMHSs as we call them, can go into places that the therapist doesn't. So my best analogy has always been that the therapist is kind of like the classroom teacher. So the classroom teacher is, here's the knowledge that you need, right? And here's how you apply that knowledge. And then the case managers are kind of like the tutor. And they come in and say, okay, what did your therapist say? Now let's practice that, and let's practice over and over again. So case managers go into homes. They can meet somebody out in the community. We can go, if a kiddo says, hey, I want to go to the local Y, but I want some support, we'll go and support you. So there are a lot of things that we can do with case managers that the therapist can't. And so oftentimes during the intake process, we'll say, I'm not sure you need a therapist, but you might need a case manager, and we can work very closely with the family to make sure that we're looking at routines, making sure that kids are getting to bed at certain times. We can look at the culture of your home and making sure that that is conducive for everybody for success. But case management goes hand in hand with therapy, or it can stand alone.
Yes. So the last 2 years, CNA has partnered with the Massillon Boys and Girls Club. So explain to our viewers a little bit about what we're doing with the kids out at the Boys and Girls Club.
And then it's very similar to our partnership with the Western Y, because we also provide a similar service to the Western YMCA. So what they're not therapists. There are either our prevention specialist or a QMHS case manager will go to the site. And they're there on site, again, kind of like in that consultative mode, where they can kind of really help diffuse situations before they get bigger than they need to. We're also working very closely with the staff themselves, because staff can also suffer from secondary trauma. And so we're helping them understand how to diffuse situations, how to put things in a positive light, how to kind of handle tough situations, because that's what we're trained to do, right? And help that staff understand the importance of what they're trying to accomplish. And so we are very proud of that partnership. We've been in the Boys and Girls Club, as you said, over 2 years. And what really kind of prompted it was COVID. I mean, we knew that kids were coming back to school at a deficit, and so we wanted to be there. And let's remove the obstacles around behaviors and those kind of concerns so they can stay in structured environments. Because we know when children are in structured environments, they thrive.
Awesome. So we also have a unique program at CNA called Triple P, Positive Parenting Program. Tell us a little bit about that, which we'll learn a little bit later in the segments we're going to do, but just give us a brief overview of what that looks like.
Sure. So Triple P is a parenting program, and here's the good news. You don't have to be an open client for us to provide that service. And there's multiple layers, and once you kind of have Larissa on to discuss that, she'll go into those layers. But it can be anything from we can come into your home and provide some parenting and coaching, or we can do some just online education. So it really is tailored to what the family needs, and then we will meet that need. But a lot of times, before they become a major issue with behaviors or a mental health concern, we can get in and kind of teach the parents what to look for and understand some of it is typically developing kind of things and other things you might want to be concerned about. And here's the tools that you can use to be successful long term.
So where could our viewers find out some more information about the agency if they're seeking some services? Sure.
So I would encourage them to go to our website, and it's pretty simple, www.childandadolescent, spell it all out, .org, and you will find a lot of resources. There's great resources for families. There's great resources for educators. There's resources for medical professionals. So again, our staff are the leading experts in Stark County when it comes to mental health for children and youth. And so they are really the primary authors of a lot of those resources. And I would encourage people to go and take a look at that. Also, if you're looking for just what other services do we provide, there's a whole list there. And if you want to be a donor, we would love to have that too. There's an opportunity for you to hit that donation button and make a donation to the agency as well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great resources from COVID even we developed with for parents, teachers, everybody about tips on anxiety, depression.
You know, one of the things I always say, Dan, is that parents, you don't have to have a license. You have to have a license to have a dog, but you don't have to have a license. So they don't come with an instruction manual, right? And so it's hard sometimes. And we know that parenting is not easy in today's world. So any kind of resource that you need, don't hesitate to reach out. Again, it could just be we can send you a flyer and you're good. Other times it might be, hey, I really do think my child needs to be open to ongoing services. And there's no shame in that. We need to talk about taking away the stigma, because if you have cancer, you go and get treatment. So if you're dealing with a mental health issue, get treatment.
Yes, and so besides the website, you can also call 330-433-6075. So this wraps up our segment, our first segment, Q&A with CNA in Western Stark County. We appreciate CEO Joe French stopping by to give us a terrific overview of the agency and really just scratch the surface here. CNA is grateful to be partnering with WHS-TV on this series of programming. And until the next episode, this is Dan Mucci, thanking you for joining us.